Diana. Thanks for joining. Diana, thank you for coming. All right.
And
So,
we're live. Have you ever wondered what spiritual activism is, what those practices are, and how it can benefit your life and the world around you? Well, you are in for a treat today because our guest is going to share that with all of you. If you're new, welcome. My name is Ellie. I am the owner of ellieparvin.com and the host of your show today, Communication TV, the place where entrepreneurs get to come and share their story, share what's on their heart, and connect with you and the world around you. And if you are joining me today, I want to introduce you to give you a little bit about my dear guest, Nikki. She is an EFT tapping coach and CEO of the Zenly shop, where incidentally I got my
woo!
bracelet.
Yes.
And it's Zenly shop is more than just bracelets though, you guys. She is it's a holistic
Hey, guys.
lifestyle company that offers empowering tools and techniques for mind body wellness. And just a little more about Nikki. She is an educator turned entrepreneur, passionate about how holistic self care and energy psychology create life changing transformation. And as the CEO of the Zenly Shop, she empowers women with tools and techniques to manage stress and anxiety so that they can manifest their best life. And she's even created this spiritual self-care society, and I'll let her share more about that space later on with you. But when she's not working, you can find Nikki sipping on matcha, walking her cute little dog with her hubby Chris, who was a guest on season 1, and
Wow.
and meditating and dancing her ass off to Beyoncé. So,
Wow.
without further ado, let me introduce to you our guest, Nikki Lynn.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ellie. What a beautiful introduction. Thank you for everyone watching on Insta and here on Communication TV. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Like Ellie said, my name is Nikki. And wow, what a just a beautiful introduction she gave me. I'm just like blown away. I'm letting that all sink in still. Um,
Oh, you're so
just
sweet.
just like she said, I am an EFT tapping coach and CEO of the Zenly shop. But more than that, what do I do really? I help women live in flow, in love, and in peace by raising their vibration every day through transformative self-care practices.
Yeah. Well, and now that you touch on that, okay, so everyone, if you're just tuning in or watching the rebroadcast, Nikki and I've been wanting to have Nikki on the show for a long time. I bought this bracelet from her from her shop, and I had never met her before. I knew and met her husband through Business by Design, and you guys have heard James Wedmore Business by Design a million times. And I absolutely love the bracelet. I've never had a lava and crystal bracelet before. As you know, I teach yoga,
Right,
and I
right.
think I got this in 2017. I
Oh,
got the
wow.
bracelet in 2017, and it's lasted this long, and I wear it to teach yoga. So you know it's quality, and it just goes to show you that when you have
Oh,
a
thank you
quality
so
person,
much.
that they build and create quality things. And like I said, she's so much more than just bracelets, which is why it's so meaningful to me. And I've been following her on Instagram for a while, and as wonderful and very different as her husband is, she is so special on her own that I had told Chris after we wrapped our show in season 1, his interview, that I would really love to have Nikki on the show. And we've kind of
Aw.
been going back and forth, and finally season 2 came along, and I messaged her a couple of months ago, making notes and comments in some of her posts, just seeing all the amazing things that she's been working on, bringing women together, helping to raise their energy and raise their vibration. And she had this wonderful idea for this topic of how energy introduces you even before you speak. And I have to say that if Nikki, I'm going to put you on the spot right now, but if you don't mind,
Okay.
I really do want to come around
Hmm.
and revisit that in the future as
Yes,
a
yes.
topic. I
I
don't
love
want to
that
talk.
idea.
Thank you so much. Okay, good. So you guys heard it here. She's going to be a repeat guest on the show in the future, and and so, but with everything going on right now in the world, with everything that is happening, with
Right, right.
George Floyd and all of the,
Black Lives Matter
and not
movement.
even just George Floyd, so many
Hmm.
beautiful Black lives out there in the world. She messaged me and just said, Ellie, something is really on my heart right now. And can I change the topic and speak about spiritual activism? And I will be honest with you, I had
Yes.
never heard of that phrase before. So obviously, my response is a big hell yes. Because you're just the person with your heart and your soul and your energy to share
Oh,
that. And now this is the interesting thing is that when you brought that up, all of a sudden I start seeing the term spiritual activist, spiritual activism everywhere, and I
wow.
had never seen it before. And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh my gosh, this is what is the thing called? It's that frequency illusion. That's when
Hmm.
selective attention occurs." Anybody know the
Thank
name?
you.
If you're popping on, post it. I think it's the Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. It's when somebody says, "Oh, I want to go to Maui," and all of a sudden you start seeing ads for Maui everywhere, or there's
Oh,
something you
right,
never
right.
heard of before, and it's just that phenomenon, that thing that you just heard for the first time. It piques interest to you, and now you start seeing it everywhere, even though it was already there before.
Oh, absolutely. And I like to call, I mean, yes, I'm sure there's a an academic term for
I think it's
that, a
called
research term.
The Bader-Meinhof phenomenon. That
Okay.
is the actual term.
There's also a spiritual term. So
Oh,
if you're
ooh.
if you are on just I'm waving to my people on Instagram as well. So so yes, there is a spiritual term uh, that talks about, how we think something and automatically we see it in our reality, right? We speak it, we see it. And it's just the law of attraction,
Yeah.
basically, right? So the law of attraction states like attracts like.
Like
It's
attracts like.
it's science. So you don't that's just how it works. But absolutely. So yes, today we're going to dive right into uh, what is spiritual activism. Like you said, there's a lot of things going on right now with the Black Lives Movement, and I've been doing a lot more trainings, a lot more lives around energy healing, and just helping people release the negative energy, um, release the judgment that we're holding in our hearts, right? Just really release any negativity
Yeah.
in order to let that go so that we can live from a place of love and understanding and compassion. And because we're talking about spiritual activism today, I just want to give you, our listeners, a quick definition of what spiritual activism is.
That was going to be one of my
Right.
questions.
Yes. So we're talking about spiritual activism, and it's basically it's someone. If you are a spiritual activist, okay, it is someone, you, I hope, who is a courageous warrior of love. That's all it means. Okay, and through your activism and your spirituality, you are working to create a more loving, just, sacred, and sustainable world. And that is just so powerful, right? When we think of that.
Oh, that's beautiful. I wear love around my necklace. This is love.
Oh,
This says love in script.
beautiful.
Because, again, like you said, we always want to come back to that and put that out there. It doesn't mean we're like this 24/7. We have our ups and downs, but always coming back to that. That's beautiful.
Right.
Now,
At our heart,
I
at our
want to,
core.
and I think this is amazing. And spiritual activism has probably been around for a lot longer than many of us know.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And when was your first introduction to that?
Well, just I guess kind of going back to how I really got into spiritual activism. Um, Going back, this goes back to 2009, right? So a little bit of backstory about me. I am a classically trained educator with 10 years of experience. And I started my teaching career in Thailand back in 2009. Okay, so this is actually where I learned mindfulness and meditation, specifically at a Buddhist monastery. So I'd love to talk about that too. But
That's down in my notes.
that was my first introduction to the wellness and the spiritual community. So we're going on 10 years now, right? Where I really had the spiritual awakening in 2009, and I've been on this journey ever since. I've always had a passion in my heart for activism, just dealing with, personal family issues and things like that. I feel really called to do this work. And it's really like, well, how can I do this work? And it's really by being honest and authentic to myself, and my spirit feels called to share holistic tools and techniques for just transformation, because I feel that everything begins within, right? Gandhi, he says, be the change that you wish to see in the world. So it's like, well, how can I be this change from within? And then how does that expand to my community, my circle, my family, my friends? And from there, by the collective consciousness, us as a collective, we raise the vibration, we raise the awakening of the collective consciousness. And from that place, we take action, right? It's a place of being able to take inspired action from that place versus a place of negativity, of lack, of fear, right? And it's so much more empowering when you come from that place, when you come from a high vibe place and are ready to take action in whatever way that feels good to you. Maybe it's through, financially donating to a cause. Maybe it's through organizing. Maybe it's praying with your feet and hitting those streets, right? It's whatever feels good to you, and being authentic and aligned with who you are. That's how we create change. Whether it's, going out and voting and do legislative change, it all begins from a place of alignment. Alignment is key. And that's where spirituality comes into play,
And what about those for you and I find that we have this unique idea of spirituality. But
Mm-hmm.
what would be a recommendation for someone who has a different idea of spirituality, of how they could add add to that vibration of the collective, even if
Mm-hmm.
that's not, they feel like, oh, that's so woo woo, and but they still can,
Right, right.
maybe by donating. What would you think?
Well, I know there's a bridge between the woo, right, the spiritual realm, and the real the awakened conscious realm, right, where we live. Okay, so I'd say the modern world, right? So there's the spiritual world and the modern world. So really building that bridge in a way that is authentic and aligned to you. And I believe that's through transformational self-care practices. So what do I mean when I say that? I mean meditation. I mean prayer. I mean journaling. I mean doing the work,
Doing the work.
the EFT tapping, really doing the inner work so that your outer environment is a reflection of who you are in the world, who you are being. You bring peace just through your being, through your presence, right? Our greatest leaders in the world have brought peace and justice and transformation through who they're being and how they show up, right? How they inspire other people to take action. And that is really how we can raise the consciousness of society and create a movement, right? They say this is not a moment, this is a movement. Okay, so if you want to get in on this movement, you got to start within. You got to start doing some inner work. It's like, where do you have those biased beliefs? Where are they hiding, right? It's like, I just did a talk last week about being an ally and really speaking to spiritual activism and how to be an ally to women of color and how to
Oh, I
really
love that. You even shared a post on what is allyship and what does that mean. And then again, after reading your post, I start seeing how to be an ally pop up everywhere.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
thought that was so descriptive what you shared.
yeah. Oh, thank
And
you.
this is true because there's many of us that white people or mixed races or first generation born in the US, and this is
Mm-hmm.
happening all over the world right now. I
Absolutely.
have
Yeah.
friends all over the world in different countries, and they're experiencing this very similar things to what we're experiencing here.
Right.
And
Systemic racism.
it's a
Yeah.
systemic racism.
Right. I like to say that it's not a political issue, it's a humanitarian issue. So if we
It
can look
is.
through that lens, then we can have more compassion and understanding of what the movement's really all about.
Right.
And
And to understand that I think the biology, if you think about when we start off very young
mm-hmm,
in elementary school or grade school or what have you, there is this, you want to fit in, you want to get along with people because of the
right.
biology of community, that if you're different, you get cast out.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
kids, you see kids all the time, and they they don't, and I know this is not the appropriate thing to say, but you see kids friends with a variety of people all the time, and that doesn't change until they get older, because
Right.
they start to look through a different lens somehow as they get older, for whatever reason. And I think the
Absolutely.
reason is, like you said, and it may not even be, like, I truly believe it's not always
Mm-hmm.
the person that needs to do the work on themselves. It's not always because of their beliefs, but the thing is they're adopting a lot of the beliefs of the people around them. So they have to almost
Absolutely.
undo the work of the beliefs of the people that have affected them and shaped the way they view people and view the world, in a sense. And if they
Absolutely.
don't educate themselves and then do that work, then it becomes this whole hurt people,
Mm.
and you judge from, we get a guidebook that we're, that's in our brain, and we're
Mm.
judging based on an outdated book. It's like
Right.
trying to
Mm.
use an old computer with new technology. It's not going to work. We need to update the information, the data
Mm.
that's in that system, and by inputting that information and understanding it and processing it and learning it and asking questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. Really upgrading your software, right?
Yes,
And
exactly.
right,
Or
because
upgrading your spiritual software.
absolutely. I love that. Upgrading your spiritual
Yeah.
software. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, that's what you're helping people do.
it's your belief system, right? So if you think of your belief system as your hard drive of your computer, right? We are constantly updating it because when it's not updated, then we have the computer starts acting glitchy and breaking down, and there's viruses. So it's the same thing in our mind. We have viruses of our mind. And kind of speaking to what you said earlier about how as we grow up and as we evolve, right, through from childhood to adulthood, we carry the beliefs and of our families, of our communities, of our church, of our environment. And so it's really about awakening, having a spiritual awakening and being a spiritual activist is one and the same, right? It's
Yeah.
when you are able to question your beliefs I think by the age of 10 is when you have like this ingrained system of like things, people are different and I'm this way and those people are that way. But more than anything, really, to be a spiritual activist, it requires a spiritual awakening. And that's what's happening right now. We are all being, we're being shaken to awaken, right? It's like, we got to wake up. We have to question our beliefs from ourselves, our family, our society, our work. And doing the inner work is really the task at hand. There's white allies and people who are like, I don't even know what I believe anymore, right? Because they've just gotten to this place where it's like, who am I? And that's what we should all be asking ourselves right now. Who am I? What do I believe? How do I serve? And why am I here? So to get to the answers, those deeper questions, we have to do the inner work. We really, really do, Ellie. And it helps to have a guide, a coach, someone to walk with you along this journey, because it's going to be challenging and it's going to be uncomfortable. And, everything, and we are so used to, we're creatures of comfort. Like we're so used to being comfortable. So it's like,
because
anytime,
there's already so much we think about, right?
Exactly.
And then we think to ourselves, oh, we need to add one more thing. But we need to. We need to, because it's like, I always say this, it's like with all relationships, with all fitness, once it gets good, you don't stop working on it.
Exactly.
So once you think that you're unbiased, which is, you just don't stop working on it. You continue to work on it.
Absolutely. And that's really one of my motivations for founding the Zenly shop. So in 2015, I founded the Zenly shop. We are a holistic lifestyle brand, and the goal, our mission, our vision is really to connect women to themselves, to their communities, and to Mother Earth. And that's why I work with semi-precious gemstones and essential oils. We also have women's circles, and the foundation of our gatherings, our trainings, is really helping women practice spiritual self-care, right?
Because, and I have a question, because it's, once you start practicing, you start guiding people through that, you're also, in a sense, connecting people who are seeking to do the same thing.
Right.
And that must mean even add more added value to the community that you're building.
Absolutely. I started, when you're in a community of like-minded women, you start realizing how similar you really are. Black, brown, purple, green, whatever. It's your souls, right? We're all connected, aligned from an energetic level, from a soul cellular level. And that's why we call each other soul sisters. Right? I consider you one of my soul sisters, Ellie.
Soul sister.
Right?
Like, you just know that somehow that we've been connected before.
Yes, absolutely. Maybe in a past life, whatever you believe in, but you feel it energetically. You feel it. These are women who are also leaders. I started attracting so many female leaders, so many female entrepreneurs to my community. And I'm just like blown away about how magnificent these women are. And together, we really just magnified our spiritual strength and just amplified the collective consciousness. And for some of you who are new to woo, you're like, what is this woo-woo stuff? But scientific research has shown, there are hundreds of scientific journals and articles published every year. And one in particular was about a group of monks who wanted to bring more peace. There was a lot of violence in this community, and what they did is they decided to just meditate. That's it. They gathered, they meditated, and I can't remember the exact amount of days they meditated for, but it was a substantial amount of time. And every day just showing up, gathering, meditating. And research shows that the actual violence in the community went down by like 30%. It was crazy.
Wow.
And nothing else changed. Just these monks showing up to meditate and just amplify messages of love, of peace, of kindness, of compassion. And that's all. Like, there weren't more police on the streets. There weren't, nothing else was changed in the environment, the outer environment, right, to bring the crime levels down. But the crime levels came down substantially. And it's published in some like medical journal. Yeah. We'll have to share the links.
You have to share the links on that. I mean, honestly, what that makes me think, what if before every political, I don't know, whatever, before every decision, before every, or what if even every police officer, every person in law enforcement, it was a rule, part of the, you put your suit on, your badge on, your gun, or whatever, or you step into the building and you have to, I don't know, turn in your phone or whatever to a government building. You also had to go to a meditation room and meditate before you even start. Whatever. I mean, that actually, like, that to be trained, like, this should be trained in all of the academies.
Right?
If you're going
Absolutely.
into politics, people should be trained on that. I feel like this should be implemented. And I know meditation doesn't work for everyone, but there are different forms of meditation, and this should be part of the education. Because could you imagine what it would be like if a person, or even if everybody, meditated before they walked into their job?
Can you
What
imagine
an
the type
effect
of
that would have on their
world
day?
we would live in if everyone meditated? And I actually want to speak
Should
to
be a
something.
requirement. Math,
It is
English, history, meditation.
meditation. Yes.
I
And
mean,
I
forget PE, do meditation.
absolutely, yeah, should be a requirement in school, in any field, especially fields where people interact with the public on a daily basis. And high stress careers, the medical field, the criminal justice field. I just kind of speaking to what you mentioned earlier, I just want to backtrack to what you said, Ellie. Meditation. So this is a common myth that people believe, that meditation doesn't work, or it doesn't work for them, right? And I just kind of want to bust that myth. So there are so many different types of meditation, and unless you say, right, there's so many different types. It's not a one size fits all. And most of the time when I work with clients one-on-one, the issues they've had with meditation before is that they have neglected to prepare for the meditation. So I'm talking about preparation before the meditation. Now, what does that mean?
Like?
Right?
Yeah,
what does that look like?
So what does that look like to you?
For me, and what I teach is how to use EFT, which, if you don't know what EFT is, it's an abbreviation for Emotional Freedom Technique. And what that does is it really relaxes, it calms your central nervous system, it gets you in the zone for meditation. It is the actual preparation to meditate. And it's highly effective at lowering your stress levels, even lowering your cortisol levels, right, by like 30 to 40%.
Wow.
And that's just from sometimes one, maybe 2 rounds of tapping. When I work with clients, we do it in rounds. And for those of you who are completely new to tapping, it's basically self-therapy. Okay, the best terminology I've ever heard is I've heard it being called self-therapy. And that's really practicing acupuncture and affirmations and tapping on certain meridian points in your body.
Right. So it's
So,
almost in a sense scientific because
mhm,
these meridian points and touch points on the body, they're real parts in the body that do something to release and trigger the mind and everything. So in a sense, it is scientific in my
all
opinion,
right.
my unprofessional opinion, I'll say. But I feel like oftentimes people kind of think, "Whoa, what are they doing over there? That looks strange." But if it can be documented and people see results and they
Mm-hmm.
can actually put a bunch of things on the brain and study the brain, and they can actually give you data that shows you, okay, this works, or
Absolutely.
this is part of something that works. And sometimes it's not the only thing, but like
Mm-hmm.
you said, it's a preparation
Mm-hmm. It
for
can be.
for
Mm-hmm.
some people. They can do tapping just once for a specific thing and they're
Mm-hmm.
fine. For others, I know they might need to do it, every day for 4, 5, 10, 30 days, and it makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, so it's think of how I teach it is I help you integrate EFT tapping into your daily life. So whether that be preparation so that you can become a meditator and have a regular meditation practice, or maybe you just want to have a regular tapping practice. It could be integrated into your morning routine, your evening routine, really creating those rituals. I call them self-care systems so
Mm-hmm.
that you are able to manage stress and anxiety on a daily level. Because when clients come to me, they're like, Nikki, my stress is at an all-time high. Like my medication isn't working. Like, what can I do? And I don't want to laugh at that, because I know how difficult that is, especially now during challenging times of uncertainty.
There's
But
a
I
lot. Yeah.
I don't want my hope isn't for people not to get to that place. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
have a self-care system in place so that you don't get to that burnout plateau place where you're unmotivated, right, to work, where you're uninspired, where you're stressed. Like,
Right.
really, it's like, let's prevent burnout before you get there, and let's create that system. Let's use these tools. I mean, if you're already at that place, then definitely we need to talk.
I'm guessing
But
most of the women that come to you probably were at that place at some point and they don't want to get there again,
right,
or they feel like they're just about getting there and they
right,
discover you.
right. And it's a tool. It's one, many tools. So self-care is not a one size fits all. It's a unique it you are unique. Your needs are unique. Your desires are unique. And how can you craft a self-care plan that supports your goals, your dreams, the things you want to manifest into your life? I mean, it all begins again, begins here, begins within, and how we can support ourselves to really do our most inspired and authentic, show up authentically and do our best work. A lot of my clients are, like I said, leaders, they're vice presidents, CEOs, presidents. They even, maybe they lead women's groups, but they're always giving, giving, giving. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, how do you support yourself? Like, you can't just give all day. You're going to run out of gas. You're going to run on empty. And then you're going to hit that plateau of stress and anxiety and burnout. And that's where our physical problems start manifesting, right?
Yeah.
That's when women start having health issues. And
Right.
so it's like, either you make time for your wellness or you will be forced to make time for your illness. That is a classic quote that it always rings true. And there's no denying it, so you're going to make time either way, which do you prefer?
Which do you prefer? Now that you share that, I think a lot of times we we are called to service in this way because we have experienced something and overcome it.
Mhm.
and fallen into something where we've discovered, wow, this did something for me. This is a game changer for my calm and peace and health and well-being.
Mm.
Did you have this experience yourself?
Absolutely. That's takes me back to when I was at the monastery and just never before having practiced meditation, I
And you
didn't know
just
what to
decided to go
expect.
to the monastery, or were you walking by? You thought you'd check it out for a day. Like what was that scenario like? Because you
Well,
were you were over there for work originally, correct? In Thailand.
yes, I was in Thailand for work, and part of if you're well traveled, part of uh, being in a new culture, new places, you want to experience it to the fullest. So the first thing people do is like go directly to the food and drinks, right? They're like, I want to experience this culture through
Yeah.
through my senses, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but for me, it's like I really want to experience on a deeper level. So I even took Thai dancing lessons. I sprained my wrist from Thai dancing.
Oh
It's
no.
all in the wrist in Thai dancing. Um,
Oh no.
yes, sprained my wrist. And before I left, my contract expired when I was teaching after a certain amount of months. And before I left Thailand, I said to myself, what is one thing that I will regret not doing if I don't do it? And
Nice.
it was like, boom, I had a divine download. Like, Nikki, go to the temple, go to the monastery. You you will regret not having had an experience living, breathing the Thai culture. It's so rooted in Buddhism and so rooted in spirituality. And so that's what I did. I was young, 20 something year old, had no expectations. And I was just blown out of the water. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was the most challenging thing I ever did in my life. But when I was in it, you have that initial like shock phase. Like the first day, I was like kind of shocked. But after that initial first day, I got into the groove. I just surrendered. You just surrender to the process. You let go, and you allow yourself to fully be immersed. And that's what I did. So just to give people kind of a picture, paint the picture, the when you go to stay at a monastery, you're in. There's no coming in and out. It's not a hotel. You can't go at your leisure. And they have a strict schedule. So it's waking up 5 a.m. for chanting. All
Oh,
right. 5
5
a.m. And you got to put on your chanting clothes. And it was brown. It was just a brown robe. You put on your brown robe, you know, um, and you get out there at the crack of dawn, and you go to temple and you chant. You're chanting, praying, singing for an hour, right? And then you go back to your room, and everyone has their individual rooms, just small little rooms, just like a mattress pad and pillow, like that's it. And then you put on your prayer clothes, and it's white. It's all white. Now you're a yogi, and white helps you vibrate higher.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
magnifies your energy by like 10. So we put on our
But I
white
don't wear
robes.
white when too much white when I teach because of sweat marks and things like that.
Mm, right. I had no choice.
Yeah, you had
So
no choice, but you're right. The white is that gives does lead to that higher vibration of energy.
absolutely. So that's what I did. I put on my white robe, chanted, and then you after you have your prayer clothes and everything, you go back, you put on your brown clothes, and that's for cooking, preparing, cleaning. You do your cooking. We prepare breakfast together, everyone. We do everything together.
Wow.
Breakfast together, preparations, cooking, and then after breakfast, cleaning. We eat together. It was now that I think back, it was just beautiful. It was just like euphoric, beautiful space. But it's, you're, again, in order to get the most out of that experience, you really had to just surrender.
Surrender
And
to the systems and processes.
surrender to the systems, to
Just
the processes.
to the
And
processes that help
yeah,
basically pave the way for the prayer.
absolutely. So I officially came out of the spiritual closet, and I had a spiritual awakening. And my family and friends will tell you, when I came back, they're like, "Who is this person?" They're like,
In a good way
in
or
a good
oh
way.
boy. Okay, good.
Yeah. When I came back from the monastery, my family and friends were like, "Wow, you're just so calm. You're so peaceful." Like I I had really just shifted. I'd really tapped into my true self, and that's who we are at our core. We are just calm, peaceful beings, loving beings, non-judgmental beings. It's when we add those layers, right, of, well, this is who my family thinks I am, my job thinks I am, this is who I'm supposed to be in my community, at work, and so all these layers just start piling up, and it's
Right.
like we get to this place where, like, who am I now? Like, I've lost touch with my true self,
Right.
and
But that doesn't really exist at the monastery because everybody is doing the same thing.
oh yeah, 24/7. They're all tapped in. They're all tapped in, and
It's a beautiful space to create the habit of really truly what's important.
becoming yourself. I had to unravel, and I had to unravel all those layers and just really become who I am at my core, and
Right.
I'm a
It's
better
almost
person for it.
unbecoming who you are to become you. It's
Unbecoming who you
almost,
thought you were,
yeah.
right? And to become who you
Or who you
really
think you
are.
need to be, even, right? Because
Yes,
that's what
I
we're
love
doing
that.
is when we start, when especially when we're young, it's like, oh, if I do this, my parents will be proud, or this
Mm,
will look successful to everyone else if I do this,
mm,
and I'm published here, and I'm writing
mm.
for this paper, because we both have that. We're both communications majors,
Right, academics, yeah,
academics,
academia.
and not that there's. I still don't poo poo on academia. It's not for
No,
everybody,
no.
but I truly believe that the choices and the path that we take in our life, they are
Hmm.
meant to be, even if it's meant to be a lesson.
Absolutely. And in academia, we have a background in academia, and it's very left brain, right?
Very
So
left brain.
very left brain. So what happens when our brain's all lopsided, right? It's we need to bring more balance. We need
More
that
balance.
that
Yeah.
that feminine intuitive energy to really feel whole
Yeah.
and feel like ourselves, right? And
So
that's
true.
that's the work. That's the work that we need to do. So,
That's so true. And I think this all goes back to what you said earlier, Nikki, that we need to do that work on ourselves.
mhm,
And because really what comes out of us is whatever is, like you said, inside of us. We
mhm,
reflect and we speak and we communicate what is whatever is made up inside, whatever is
mhm.
our recipe inside here, whatever those bits and pieces are. And now, what I have a question for you, because obviously you have great systems and routines and processes. What is the first thing you do in the morning when your eyes
Ooh, I love this question. The
pop
first
open?
thing I do in the morning, I'm still in bed when I do this.
You're still in bed. Your eyes have opened and you're kind of like,
Mm.
okay, maybe they're a little welled shut with sleep, like mine are, and I have to
Yeah, I love this question. Thank you for asking this question, Ellie. The first thing I do when I wake up is I just say thank you. Just thank you. I'm in bed, I say thank you. Before I go to bed, I say thank you. It's just gratitude, right? Gratitude is not just an attitude. It's more than an attitude, it's a practice. right?
Yes.
So when you can put gratitude in practice, your whole life will change. I mean,
Right.
just being grateful for what you have, you'll always have more, right? But
So true.
if you're ungrateful, if you resent what you have, where you are, you'll again you'll attract more lack.
Right.
You'll attract more discomfort, more,
Because you see what you think.
right? Because it's just
Yeah.
the world is a mirror for what you think, what you believe. So
Exactly.
gratitude is the first thing I do when I wake up in the morning. It's the last thing I do before I go to bed. It's the most profound thing that anyone can do for their life, and regardless of religion, regardless of anything, it's just gratitude. And if Oprah says if the only prayer you ever say in your life is thank you, then that's enough. So that's what I do.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful and so simple.
just simple. The
So simple.
Yeah, I like to keep things very simple. I don't need to overcomplicate things. Again, that's our academia left brain self really wanting to overcomplicate things. So when we get into that right brain, more intuitive, we we realize that it doesn't have to be complicated. Life can be so simple. I live a very simple life, and I'm so grateful, and I'm very happy just to wake up and just say my gratitude practice and sip a warm cup of matcha and take my dog for a walk. It's just like the little simple things. Like I'm just very happy to do it. So
So true. I so love my first cup of coffee in the morning.
right.
It takes a while to get to that first cup. I also start my day with gratitude and I end it with gratitude. I do meditation, then I end it with gratitude after the meditation, and then I say a little prayer to the universe for the just to put the good energy and the
Mm,
love out there for the
mm,
people I care about and love in my life,
mm,
and those who are near and far. And I sleep really good with that. And when I wake up in the morning, it I it's somebody said something once a long time ago that you do these practices every day and you feel good, and yes, it's good to feel good all the time, but the truth of the matter is we're not. Like, look at with this whole pandemic thing, it didn't really,
mhm,
like, my husband and I, we whisper when we say this because
mm,
we feel a little guilty that it hasn't really affected us
mm. But
that
has it,
much.
Ellie? I want to challenge that because
You know,
that's what
to
we
me,
do.
it
That's what coaches
hasn't
do.
really affected me. Maybe it's affected me, but not in a negative way.
There we
Like
go.
like yes,
So,
our trip to
mhm,
Maui was canceled. We're
mhm,
not going to Sicily this year,
mhm.
and but I got to have my husband home for more than
Aw.
I ever had since
Mm.
before we got married.
Wow.
And that is worth more than a vacation trip or anything. And I need to remind myself that because I've been hounding him
Mm.
to take a vacation because we're not good at taking staycations, because
Right.
we'll be like, oh, now we can work on this on the house, and now we can work on this, and we're not working, but we're doing other things that when we should just be focused on each other, and so we're probably just gonna do a road trip, but
Mm.
but we're big travelers. That's one of the things we like to do together, and so yeah, it affected me that way. I was let go from my 18-year yoga job, or actually I taught
Mm.
kickboxing, yoga, and hip hop at 24 Hour Fitness for 18 years. Last week
Wow.
I got let go. And you know what I immediately said? Like, I honestly, for a minute, felt a ping when I
Mhm.
got the email, because you just
Mm.
get an email. And then, literally, not even 10 seconds later, my brain just kind of, I got like this well of my heart filled up, and I said, oh, well, when one door closes, the universe opens another one that's even better.
Mm.
Like, I literally like felt so silly thinking that, but honestly, so going back to what I'm saying is I've had to deal with some difficult things in the last 2 3 years,
Right.
and the gratitude practice, the morning gratitude practice, the meditation is
Mm.
actually like you get into the habit of doing it and it feels good and
Mhm.
doesn't mean that things don't come up during the day that
Mhm.
kind of for a few seconds it's like you take a deep breath and you come back to your centered morning, the memory of your centered morning, and it dissipates very quickly.
Mm.
But when you're going through those really difficult times, having those practices and things like the systems that you've created for your community, if you already have that going, it it becomes vital during those difficult times. Sometimes you don't want to. There were moments like when my mother passed away, there were days that I literally would my eyes would open
Mm.
and I would cry. Like
Oh.
I didn't feel the gratitude at the moment, but I would cry.
Right.
I would just allow that to be,
Mhm.
accept it. Just like
Mm.
let the feelings be there. Just be with those feelings. Let them be there because my thinking is okay, the universe, just this is the universe. There's yin and yang
Mm.
all the time. And when you're going through those moments, you just accept it. And then I'm able to start meditating. I did different
Right.
meditations during that time. I already
Mhm.
had the tools. If
Exactly.
I hadn't had those tools, I can't tell you. Like, I probably would have had a lot of physical problems
Mm.
because I felt this trauma. And tapping
Mm.
helped me get through it, meditation,
Mm.
crystals, tea. I know that
Mm.
sounds very woo, but
Mhm. Mhm.
Tibetan singing bowls. Like I did all the
Aromatherapy.
things. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Oils. I mean, I did all the things, and I really, truly believe that these tools helped me get through it.
Mm.
And that's the wonderful thing that you're doing for your women is that, like you said, it's preventative. Because
Right.
when difficult things do arise, then now they have the tools or the and
Mm.
even the community and you
Oh, thank you.
for guidance.
Yeah,
It's
it's
amazing.
thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear about your mother.
Thank you.
Your
Thank
sweet
you.
mama.
I know.
But
She's always with me. She's always with me. In
mm.
fact, when I cleaned out her car before I donated it to Cars for Kids, she had this Mercedes. So I just cleaned it out, donated it. It is an older car. This was in the car.
Oh wow.
And I feel like she left this for me because
Right.
my mom never
Wow.
talked about crystals or anything like that. She used to go to a lot of holistic and healthy healing events. She was very
Mm.
much into, she never really got sick and she was very much into natural healing
Right.
while we were
Right.
growing up. And so this rose quartz, I've always kept it, and now I keep it here on my little altar with my other crystals and my little Buddha
Oh, I
and
love that, Ellie. What a
I
beautiful story. What a beautiful keepsake. Rose quartz
yeah,
is
it's just
the
so
stone
and
of love and
it's just that, and it's so good for your heart and for healing the
hmm
heart and just again coming back to love and things that come from the heart. It just felt like, well, my mom is still speaking to me with her energy and, guiding me in a way. And but again, if I didn't have these practices or tools prior, I would have just said, "Oh, it's a freaking rock."
mm,
I just,
totally,
what is
totally.
this? Oh, it's a paperweight.
Right, right.
But it's these little things that we do and start to grow and I want to bring this back around to spiritual activism
Mm,
because I know a lot of people feel like, "Oh, we've heard so much and is it, this is just a moment, this will pass." Well, it shouldn't
mm,
pass. We should
no.
continue to do like what is your thought on this because I could talk about this all day but I want to hear your thoughts. You're the expert in this area. Like what does your heart say to help people continue to practice with these
Mm.
tools?
Well, absolutely. First and foremost, if if you want to be a warrior for love and be a spiritual activist, then you're going to really need to lean in to your self-care because it this work is going to be long, it's going to be hard, it's going to be uncomfortable. But on the other side of that, there's so much beauty, there's so much love, and there's transformation. So
Yes.
it one of the myths that I like to really, two of the myths I like to debunk for my clients, and what makes my process unique, is that self-care is a need to have. It's not a nice to have, right? Absolutely need to have self-care. You need to have a system in place so that you can do this work, so that you can pray in the streets with your feet, so that you can sign petitions, so that you can call your legislators, your uh, people that represent you in government, and you're writing those letters, you're making those calls, you are going live maybe in your communities, Facebook, Instagram, like you're doing. You have, if you have a platform, more than anything, you are you really need to lean into your self-care and have those systems. And the second myth I like to debunk for my clients is that, say you practice self-care, but what type of self-care are you practicing? Because if it feels like a chore rather than a ritual,
Right.
that's a sign that something needs to change.
Right.
Okay, so if it feels like a chore, not a ritual, then something needs to change. If you're like, I have to do this, no, it should be, I get to do this. Like, this is going to nourish me. It's going to nourish my spirit, my soul. It's going to help me do this work and show up, and it's going to motivate me, inspire me, energize me. There's a quote, I love this quote by Audre Lorde, about self-care and being a spiritual activism. She says, I want to make sure I read it correctly. But she says, caring for myself is not self-indulgence. It is self-preservation. And that is an act of political warfare.
I love
Yeah,
that.
right?
This is Carrie Lord.
It's, her name is Audre Lorde.
Audre
She's,
Lorde.
yeah,
Audre Lorde. That's beautiful.
thank you.
It's
Yeah.
it is so true.
Those are her. I'm just the messenger. Those are her words.
That's, I
Right?
mean, honestly, I couldn't have come on here today and shared all of the beautiful light and the things that you've shared here today, Nikki. That's one of the
Oh,
things is that I know I can't do
thank you,
everything.
Ellie.
I'm not the expert in everything. So I feel that what's in my heart is to create a space
Mm.
for others to come and share what's in their heart
Mm. Thank you.
and
And you've done a beautiful
educate
job
the
of
way that
that.
I can. And thank you for coming on here and sharing with our community and those out there that this is all I believe self-care is a part of being a good communicator, and being a
Mm.
spiritual activist is
Mm.
part of being a good communicator, because if we're not working on ourselves and doing the work
Mm-hmm.
to undo the things that are not who our higher self is supposed to be, then
Mm-hmm.
how can we help others be the best versions of them? How can we communicate to them in a way that they know we care?
Absolutely. Right. And coming from a place of non-judgment,
Coming
right?
from a place of non-judgment.
Because when
Absolutely.
people feel that you are judging them, they automatically, their guard is up. So
Absolutely.
what is the opposite of fear, of hate? Right? What's the opposite of hate? Hate is just another word for fear. Right? So the opposite of fear is love. So how can we come back to love and really make an impact in the world from that place? That's what sustainable change is. It's it's coming from a place of love and being a warrior of love and taking action from that place.
Yeah.
Inspired action from that place. And how do we do that? We do that through transformative self-care practices.
I
So
love it.
that's what I do.
I love it. Well, where can people find you for guidance on transformative self-care practices, and what are you working on right now that you could share with our audience?
Thank you for asking. I'd love to share more about what I'm working on, what I feel inspired and called to share. Um, Currently, right now, I my big announcement, I wanted to invite people on this call to really hear a big announcement. And my big announcement is that in a week on Monday, July 6th, I'm hosting a free 7-day chakra challenge. And I know you're a yogi and you know about the chakra system. And in the chakra system, we focus on getting aligned. Alignment is the key. So, really, to learn more about the challenge and join us, it's free. It's 7 days. You can visit thezenlyshop.com. You can also check us out on Facebook, on Instagram at the Zenly Shop. I'll be hosting the challenge in my Facebook group called Spiritual Self-Care Society.
Okay. So
And
it's called the Spiritual Self-Care Society.
yes, Spiritual Self-Care Society is my Facebook group. And you can request to join, and I'll be posting about the challenge today, actually. And I'm very excited to offer this. It's 7 days of spiritual guidance, spiritual tools, self-care tools and techniques, to really raise our vibration and become those warriors of love, so that we can create the transformation, create sustainable change in the world. And I'm just so grateful to be able to hold that space and guide
That's
guide
going to
you
be
on this journey.
amazing. I love it. I just started last year learning and understanding more and deeper about the chakras. So that's kind of, I'm going to have to join the challenge, because that sounds like so much fun. And I actually do a, a chakra as a 6 minute meditation every morning. It's my first meditation that I do. I sit up in bed and do this
Mm,
chakra alignment. but
exactly.
but I always feel like I want more. It's like you have a piece of cake that you like, and you're like, I just want one more slice. So you want to just kind of keep adding to nothing.
You're
So
so
I would like
cute.
some more slices of chakra cake. And so I'll be
Yeah.
signing up for the challenge. That's perfect.
Please do. We would love to have you.
Thank
And
you. And then I want to value your time. I know we're getting close to over the time, but I always have one question I ask my guests, and
oh,
it is,
please do.
how do they define communication and what does it mean to them?
Communication. Well, to me, communication means to really send, and it's a means to send and receive information, right? That's the basis of what communication is. It's really important because communication is like energy. We give it and we receive it, right? And my favorite mystic poet, Rumi, he says, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. So if you view communication through that lens, through an energetic lens, and believe that communication is energy, then your task is not to seek energy outside of you, but to discover all the ways, discover all the blocks within yourself, right? The ways that you've blocked your energy. And
Oh, that's beautiful.
you're so cute, Ellie.
No,
So,
that is so it's so true, because it's like removing the barriers so that you can truly communicate from your heart.
mm, mm,
Oh God, I
you,
love Rumi.
that's
I
it. That's
mean,
it. That's why
oh,
I'm
that's
like,
fantastic.
yes.
Thank you so much, Nikki, for being such an incredible guest today, coming on here, sharing your journey and your story, and talking about and educating us on spiritual activism. You guys, take advantage of the 7-day chakra alignment challenge that starts the first I want to say the first Monday in July. Is that right?
It's the 6th.
It's
Monday,
the
July
6th, which is the
6th.
first Monday in July.
Uh-huh.
So have fun on 4th of July weekend
Right.
and make sure that you sign up before or after your 4th of July party to get that chakra aligned. Because I'll be doing it. So join me and all of her other community. You will
Yay.
absolutely love it. Thank you so much again, Nikki. And for all of you that are watching the rebroadcast or watch us live, thank you so much. We honor
Oh,
you and celebrate you so very much. And I want to wish you communication for success, health, and happiness.
thank
Ciao
you,
for
Ellie.
now. Thank you, Nikki.